this locker room European special on Thursday night. This is a hat trick of shows. Well, for Graham it is. Myself, it's a second show of the week, and a very disappointing week for Scottish teams in Europe. I'm going to go through the. You know how it is, Graham, when you go on a aeroplane, they go through all the fire exits and all that. So I'm going to go through all the housekeeping for us. Of course, you can comment on anything that we are talking about on YouTube and Facebook Live. We're on, just comment on the video below, and also we're on Twitter as well. Just look for the Locker Room Indie on Twitter. It's amazing, Glenn, because we've had this Twitter account for ages, right? And I still can't remember the name of it. That's how my memory is going sometimes. So we're on till 9 o'clock tonight. Get your comments coming in on Facebook, as I say, and YouTube. Graham, how are you?
All right, disappointed, but I mean, listen, Istanbul are a very good side of the top season in the group, so I wasn't massively surprised, but disappointed at the goals that we lost, and we didn't really create enough, but it's one of these nights.
One of these nights that you'll spend with Michael. You lucky boy that you are. So we're on till 10 o'clock tonight. Of course, we're talking about a Hearts game tonight. Hearts, the first European game. I didn't realise it was our first European game ever. And the group stage is at Tynecastle, because they were talking about that on the TV. Sadly, Hearts get beat by 4-0 against Basaksehir. I'm not even going to pronounce the first part of the name. I'll leave it to Graham, because you were pronouncing it very well on Sunday.
Yeah, Istanbul Basaksehir.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to say that again now, because I've done it plenty of times now.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun how Glenn was saying that on Sunday, quite the thing, and he doesn't want to say it again because they came to a wet Tynecastle tonight, and they won by 4-0. Glenn, where do we start with that one? I was going to start off by saying Craig Gordon. I know we mentioned him quite a few times on the show, actually. I need to get him on the show one time, actually, if he's not busy. But I mean, 50th European game for obviously is maybe his third game for Hearts, but some record for Craig Gordon, and he was still pulling off the saves tonight.
He was, and he had to. He was a very busy man. I mean, I felt sorry for him. He was getting very little protection. It was just one of these horrible nights. He was having far too much to do. And the defence in front of him, I mean, it was spoken about before the game. Craig Halkett is a massive miss. Kai Ribbles is a huge miss. And it showed. I thought tonight our lack of experience in European football really showed, especially defensively. But it was frustrating because I'm going to try and break this down if I can. The first 50 minutes, I thought that we looked a little bit like we didn't think we should be there playing in European games.
Yeah.
And then we got a foothold in it. And Andy Halliday has a chance when he's through. And I'm shouting at the TV, pull the trigger, have a shot. And he doesn't. He's tackled. I think he tries to cut inside and he's tackled. And then for the next 10, 15 minutes, we actually played okay. And then obviously we get a set piece and Peter Haring as the header and it's cleared off the line. And at that point, I'm thinking, we've got a chance here. And then Peter Haring, I don't know what he's doing, on the edge of our box, gives it away. It's really poor from Haring. And to be fair to the boy that takes the strike, it's a great strike because it's going to take a lot to beat Craig Gordon for there. It's a great strike. And then we kind of heads went down a little bit and we came back into it again. And then half time comes and I think, right, we need to regroup, try and get back into the game. Second half, I thought we started okay. But then once the second goal goes in, I think you can see the heads went down. And again, it's really poor defending. Stephen Kingsley bullied at the back post. It's a good header, but he's bullied at the back post. And then the other 2 goals are deflections, which is not what you can do about it. So we have lost 4 goals, but all of them were very poor. But I'm not going to sit here and say that Basaksehir didn't deserve to win, because they did. They were the better side. But Hearts had a couple of decent chances. They just didn't do enough going forward. So it is frustration. But if you take into consideration that Bertrand Traore, the guy number 9 for them, he went to Aston Villa for £17 million 2 years ago. That's what Hearts are up against. They're a very, very good team. And for long spells, they competed well. But we were just outclassed in the end by a better team.
Let's take it back to the beginning of the game. I know you don't want to live the game again, Graham, because you get beat by 4 goals to 0. But I think you're right. Hearts were a bit would you say, a bit scared at the beginning to really get into the game, and it took them about 15 minutes, and they had that wee spell before half time. And Andy Harrigan had a brilliant chance. I don't know why he never took that first time, but would you agree that Hearts were a bit we're not used to this kind of European football, and then after 15 minutes they came into the game?
Yeah, I mean, I think I spoke yesterday about the fact that Hearts needed to start the game well, needed to get the crowd on side. And, I mean, we didn't really see that. We didn't start the game well. We kind of let Istanbul get a foot in the ball and settle. And I couldn't really work out what we were trying to do. There was no press. We were just kind of content to just sit back and let them dominate. And then I think it was Cammy Devlin put in a really good challenge, and it got the crowd up, and we started to think, right, we're here now. As Stephen Craig instead of TV, Hearts have arrived. And that chance for Halliday, I think he's got to shoot earlier and test the goalkeeper. That's what we didn't do the game. We didn't test the goalkeeper. And then we got a foothold in the game, and I thought, right, here we go. Now the crowd are up, because you could hear the crowd. The crowd are up. We were getting a bit of a foothold in the game. But once that first goal goes in, the crowd gets deflated. I think the players got a bit deflated. And it's a mistake. It's a mistake on our part. Peter Haring, I don't know what he's trying to do. The edge of your box, just clear the ball. And he messes about on it, gets tackled. And as I say, it's a great strike. But you can't take that many touches in European football against better teams, because they'll punish you. And that's what happened tonight.
Would you say about, I think we spoke about this last night game, Graham, after the Rangers Ajax game as well, about Rangers were miles off the pace. But I kind of said to you and Dave last night that they gave the first kind of big tackle in the game for the fans to be up for the game and whatever. And that's what happened at Tynecastle tonight.
Yeah, it did. You need to get the crowd on side early on. You could tell by the start of the game the fans were really up for this. And it was just, it's hard to tell from TV, but I just felt that after the first 5 minutes or so, the crowd went a bit flat, because we allowed Basaksehir to get a foot on the ball and dictate the game. They weren't doing a lot with it, but we weren't doing enough either. And that was a frustration until we started making tackles. You look at Basaksehir going forward, they had a lot of big lads in their team. They were just bouncing off people. I mean, you've only got to look at, I think it was the third goal they scored. The guy beats about 3 Hearts players. He just bounces off them. We couldn't get near them. And that was the thing. We didn't make any decent tackles. There was nobody really getting a foot on the ball and controlling the game. And I am as everyone knows, I'm a massive fan of Barry Mackay. But again, I thought Barry Mackay on the big occasion flattered to deceive a little bit. And I didn't think Lauren Shanklin got on the game. We weren't giving him service. And it just all round, there was a frustration. And I think you heard the crowd at the end of the game booing the players off. And again, like I normally do, I went on the Roasting Hearts hot Twitter, and already are seeing people say Nielsen should be sacked. Nielsen's not good enough. They were a very good side. And I think injuries do play a part. We really missed Craig Halkett. We missed Kai Rowles. We missed Benny Beringame in that midfield. Obviously, we've not got Keogh yet because he's not got his visa. Robert Snodgrass was signed after the deadline. So there's a lot of things that just didn't quite go right. And I will say, and I've spoken about this before as well, I am not a massive fan of Hearts playing 3 at the back. 3 at the back for me never works. We should be playing 4 at the back. And I just thought it was very exposed again tonight.
You mentioned about Lauren and Shankling that none of Hearts' big. I'm trying to be kind of generous here, but big players never turned up tonight. Like the likes of Lauren and Shanklin, Aaron Forrest, he was kind of post gig missing. They had a kind of like run in the first half, and they get basically shoved off the ball. You can't really do that in European football because, I mean, you saw it against obviously Celtic getting Tuesday night, but you saw it against Rangers last night as well when they play Ajax. They can't afford to do that in European football. Do you think Hearts will be? Hopefully, Hearts will qualify for the next round. It's going to be a big if now. But do you think that that inexperience for Hearts are going to stop them from getting through to the next round of the Conference League?
I think possible. When we look at the stats, Istanbul had 69% possession. They had 22 shots, 7 on target. Hearts had 2. I mean, that just shows how kind of dominant they were. And I think as well, I said before I came on the show, if you actually look at the Fiorentina RFS game tonight, I thought Fiorentina would win that game, and they didn't. They drew 1-1. So that's a big result for RFS, which is where I thought Hearts would take points. Now I'm not quite so sure. So it's a difficult one. But we now have to prepare for St Mirren on Sunday. That becomes a massive game, if it's on, of course, with the news earlier on. But I just think that there is a lack of experience. We've not got a lot of players that have played European games, and I think that did show tonight. Although one player that I was really impressed with was Cammy Devlin. I thought he was really good tonight. He was everywhere. He was the one that was actually making challenges, and he was everywhere tonight. And other folk just didn't really play to that standard.
Just got a comment here from Bayuzo, contributor tonight. Thanks for watching on YouTube. It says, just arrived from an Indie Live TV show. Give me the bad news first. Well, the bad news is you've got me and Graham for first night, and the good news is you haven't got James. No, I'm sorry if James is listening. He'll be back very soon on Indie Live Radio. We're just kind of like discussing the Hearts game tonight. I think it beat 4 goals to 0 in the match day 1 in the Conference League up at Tynecastle. So, how does Robbie Nielsen begin to pick up his players for Sunday, Graham?
It's a tough one, but again, like I've said previously, that the league games are the bread and butter. These games are a bonus. Yes, it would have been great to get something tonight, but you are against a level of opponent who are far superior to you. As I said, to the top seeds in the group, and it showed. So he's got a massive job now. I think there'll be changes on Sunday. Absolutely, there'll be changes. He has to refresh that side. I would expect Robert Snodgrass to come in. I don't know how fit he'll be, but I think he'll come in. And I think there'll be another few changes, but he has to ditch this 3 at the back because it doesn't work. I've never liked 3 at the back for Hearts. It doesn't work. We look far too exposed. I think that's now 3 games in a row. 3 games in a row we've not scored. That's another concern. So he has a big job on his hands. But I mean, I was trying to look at the positives tonight. Are there very many? Maybe not. But there was a few chances tonight. As I said, the Andy Halliday transfer is through. We had the header from Peter Haring off the line. There were a few chances tonight. I thought Stephen Humphreys, when he came off the bench second half, I thought he looked quite lively. So there are, despite a lot of folk thinking there isn't, there are positives there. But he has to do something on Sunday night to change that, because it was poor tonight. I'm not going to lie, but I'm not for 1 second going to say Robbie should be sacked, because tonight, yeah, it's a learning curve, and they've got to learn very quickly.
Is this the same conversation, Graham? I feel like Groundhog Day, because did we not say this on Sunday after when we had the show on Sunday after the Livingston game? Because I kind of like tips Hearts to finish maybe second to upset the whole firm. But after these the 2 performances at the weekend, it's going to be a hard struggle. And I suppose, like you would say, if it wasn't for Craig Gordon, I don't know where Hearts would be in the league at the moment.
it's a conversation we have many, many times on this show and other shows that Craig Gordon he's just a phenomenal goalkeeper, but he is far too overworked. Defenders in front have got to do a lot more. I mean, they've got to defend a lot better. We looked very sloppy at times in that first half. We looked all over the place. We did settle for a spell for about 15, 20 minutes after that opening 15 minutes. We did settle. But then as soon as that first goal goes in, we capitulate again. So, Craig Gordon is an outstanding goalkeeper. And yeah, where would we be without him? I don't know. I don't want to think about that. But again, even last season, we finished third, but I think there was a stat going around that Craig Gordon, I think, had the most amount of saves in the league. And that's a team that's sitting third in the league. So it shows how busy Craig Gordon is. And again, tonight, he's made a couple of really good saves. That could have been a lot more tonight. And what did I say on the show last night when you asked me about what I thought about the game today? I said on this show, Celtic lost 3, Rangers lost 4. I hope we don't lose 5. And how close that was to being true.
Yeah, no, exactly. Going back to the goalkeeper situation, right? Are you quite happy that you've got Zanga Clark and another maybe like experienced goalkeeper? But in saying that, you don't have to. It's a bit worrying if you go to see Hearts every week and you've got to rely on the goalkeeper, Graham.
I'm delighted we got Sander Clark. He's another experienced goalkeeper and a 3-year deal. I was delighted with that on deadline day.
Oh no! What I mean by that, Graham, is you shouldn't have to rely on your goalkeeper because you should have other players at the end of the park putting the balls in the net.
Yeah, you should have, but we are over reliant on Craig Gordon, and I'm sure that when Craig Gordon doesn't play, we'll be over reliant on Sander Clark. It is a worry for me. We are conceding too many goals, and at times we look decent going forward, but not enough. Again, tonight, as I said, Barry Mackay didn't have as influential a game as I hoped. Lawrence Shankland got very little service. We're punting balls up to him. That's not what he wants. And I think for me, the biggest frustration, and I do think we have signed well. I think we've signed about 10 players. But for me, going into these games of European football, I think we needed more strength and depth. We needed another defender, another striker. And I don't think we did that. So there is for me a couple of areas that we're still lacking in. But Robbie said yesterday he's happy with the squad he's got. That's fine. If he's happy, that's fine. But a lot of Hearts fans are still not impressed with what he's done so far. So as I keep on saying, Robbie's only ever one defeat away from the sack. He's got that tonight, and if he loses on Sunday against St Mirren, I dread to think what folk are going to think.
Let's speak about Robbie Neilson then, because I think when we speak about Hearts nowadays in the show, Graham, we spend more time speaking about Craig Gordon and Robbie Neilson, and we should be speaking about the team. But do you not think it's a bit unfair for the Hearts fans to get on Robbie Neilson's back? Okay, a poor performance tonight, but Robbie Neilson has got Hearts. What was it, third place in the league last season? Got them into a cup final. Okay, they were well beat, you would say, that day, and he got them into Europe as well. So, as a man looking from the outside, I think he's actually gig not bad.
I think if you look at Robbie's record overall, now I wanted him sacked after Borough Rangers. I'm not going to lie about that. But if you look at his stats overall, when he first took over, when we were in administration, he got us up from the Championship, first time of asking, in a group that had Rangers and Hibs in it. Mm-hmm. He then finishes third in the first season back up. When he leaves to go MK Dons, we're second. We then went downhill after that. He comes back. He wins the semi-final against Hibs. He gets us into the final against Celtic, which we get beat on penalties. We're in the Championship again. He gets us promoted first time of asking. Okay, it wasn't particularly great style of football, but he gets us up. He then finishes third again, European football, and into the cup final. So if you actually look at it, he has been successful. I know he's not won a trophy, but his stats are actually quite decent. But there are a lot of Hearts fans that just won't take them. That's always been the way with Robbie Neilson. You've only got to look back years ago when they had that plane that flew about saying no style, no bottle Neilson out. I'd expect that to be flying above again. Tynecastle very shortly if this continues. But I think Robbie does get a harsh time. I've been critical myself. but you have to look at what he's done so far. And I think we do have a pretty strong squad, but I do think there are areas that needed strengthened, and he's not really done that. So I think, yeah, Robbie does get a bit of a tough time at times, and games like tonight are not going to help that.
No, I mean, obviously we'll go on to speak about the Hearts game next week against RFC next Thursday night. Of course, we'll be on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. And I should say at this point as well, if you want to comment on anything that we're saying, if you disagree with Graham about Robbie Nelson or you disagree with me, full stop. You can I can take it. I'm a big boy. You can comment on the video below on YouTube or on Facebook Live, and don't forget we'll be here every week covering Celtic, Rangers, and Hearts in European football. And of course, we'll be back tomorrow night between 5 and 7 with the weekend preview, and Sunday between 3 and 5 as well. So that's a wee shout out to the programmes. And looking ahead to a few weeks' time, we've got Scotland back in Nations League action. We'll be covering their games as well. So keep it right here on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. We are reacting to the game tonight. Hearts get beat by 4-0. It's not the perfect start that you wanted, Graham, at home, especially the first European game at home for a wee while. You would say. I'm hoping from Scotty's point of view, and you from a Hearts point of view, that Hearts kind of heads won't go down here because they've got another 5 games to come.
We do, and I mean, I just look at that RFS game next week, and as I said, they've just drawn with Fiorentina, which I wasn't expecting. If Hearts can go to Latvia and get a result, then it puts us back in the group again. But it's getting that first win. It's going to be tough. I mean, I'll be honest, when I was watching the game tonight, when the show kicked off at 5:15 on TV, and they played that Conference League music in the background, it was actually quite nice to hear it, because it's been a while since I've heard that at Tynecastle. So it was quite nice to hear that music, and it was great to be back in European football again. But we looked like we had a lack of experience tonight. That showed. And we've got to try and get back on the horse pretty quickly. And next week gives us that chance. If we can get 3 points in Latvia, that could be huge and puts us back in the group, because I now think that Istanbul will win the group, looking at them tonight, and they'll play Fiorentina next week. So if Istanbul beat Fiorentina and we beat the Latvian side next week, we're back in it. So there's a long way to go, but we have to improve tonight defensively. That's the thing. We've got to improve defensively, because, again, we've not kept a clean sheet tonight. And that's a massive, massive worry for me.
And again, I'm going to say this, Graham, right? And I might be, when we come on and match day 6, you'll be that, oh, Michael got to sharp about that. But it's the same with Rangers again last night, because Rangers never put any fight into the game. Hearts never put any fight into the game for 15 minutes. I mean, I know this is terrible way of saying this to you, but if Hearts got beat by, a 2-1, and it was a very tight game, and Hearts put a lot of effort into the game, we could be really having a different conversation tonight. Okay, they still get beat, but you would say, well, there was a bit of fight there. I know that's not what you want me to hear, to say, but you know where I'm coming from. There wasn't any fight or anything in that team tonight.
I disagree slightly. I think there was fight until the third goal went in, and then the heads just dropped. I think up until that point, we were still in the game. Okay, we maybe hadn't created a lot, but we were still in the game. But once that third goal goes in, the heads dropped, and you could see that they sat off. They were worried about conceding more. They did concede the fourth, and after that, the game's done. I think a lot of heads went down, and that's something that Robbie's got to deal with pretty quickly going into Sunday's game against St Mirren, because that's the game we've got to be winning. As I keep saying, the league is a bread and butter. Dave's mentioned this on the show before. The league's a bread and butter. European games are great. They're a bonus, but we've got to lift it. And I keep going back to this. My worry is that we're not keeping clean sheets. You've got to build from the back. If you are stable at the back, you give yourself a platform. We're not stable at the back. We're conceding too many goals and we're not scoring enough. And that's a really bad balance to have. We've got to stop conceding goals.
Yeah, no, I mean, and the big games keep coming for Hearts because, okay, you've got St Mirren on Sunday, you've got RFS mid-Thursday, and I'm sure, is it Rangers that you've got coming up in a few weeks' time at Tynecastle? And, I mean, Hearts are always up for that game, and there's always a good atmosphere at Tynecastle for that game. But I mean, I just wanted to go back about that team winning 4 goals to nil tonight. I think when it was 3-0, they basically, the atmosphere went a bit flat because the fans knew that the game was over. Maybe 2-0, but definitely 3-0.
Oh yeah, the game was done. You can see that as soon as the third goal's in, you can see the heads just drop, and not just one player, the whole team. They just looked like they chucked it, and that for me is not good enough. I don't care what you're getting beat. You shouldn't let the heads drop. And I mentioned in the group chat, that's 3 Scottish teams in Europe this week, and we've scored no goals and conceded 11. That's not a great look for Scottish football. Now, Celtic, to be fair to them, they were against the European champions and they competed really well. But obviously, Rangers and Hearts have had a massive disappointment. But it doesn't put Scottish football in a great light, the fact that you've got 3 Scottish teams in European football. We haven't scored and conceded 11 goals. And tonight, I'm not going to lie, that could have been more. Istanbul could have easily scored a few more. So it is a worry for me, but we have to lift ourselves for Sunday. We can't feel sorry for ourselves, and I'm going to be interested to see what Robbie does on Sunday now, to see what changes he makes, how he lifts the team, because that St Mirren game now becomes crucial. And I'm going to go to Saturday just now. Aberdeen play Rangers. Now, if Aberdeen drop points in that game, it's a big chance for Hearts to pick up 3 points on Sunday. So these games now become huge.
Yeah, no, definitely. And do you think that there was a lot of talk before the tournament even started, even when Hearts was in the Europa Cup, they knew that they were going to play on Sunday. But do you think that the Hearts team and the Hearts squad will be tested in terms of have they got the mentality to go every week? Because don't forget now, it's every week. It's not every 2 weeks now because of the World Cup coming up.
That's a very good question. I hope they do. And I think we have experienced players in that squad. You've got Craig Gordon, you've got Andy Halliday. You've got experience in there. And they now have to lift that squad. But I just think for me, injuries really haven't helped. I'm not making excuses, but injuries to key players have not helped. If you look through that whole side, we've lost the spine of that team. We've lost Craig Halkett, our best defender. We've lost Benny Maringame, one of our best midfielders. And we've lost Liam Boyce, one of our best strikers. So we've lost our real spine in that team. And that hasn't helped. And other players for me at the moment haven't really stepped up to the plate. I mean, I don't want to criticise the guy because I like him a lot. But Peter Haring for me tonight was miles off the pace. And you just look at that first goal; it's so poor. You can't in European football. You get punished against teams like that if you dwell on the ball. So I think it's a learning curve for all the players on that team. And I think what I actually like tonight, and I will say this right now, what I liked is the fact that we gave minutes to Connor Smith, a young laddie. We gave minutes to Finlay Pollock, I think, as well. So it's great for these guys to get European experience. Okay, the game's done. But to bring guys on like that, and I'm a massive fan of Connor Smith. I've always liked him. I'd like to see him get more chances, and maybe tonight he will now. So that was a big plus for me. But on the negative side, I keep going back to this. Defensively, Robbie's got to change that system. 3 at the back does not suit us. Go to 4 at the back, and you've got to do something to change that, because that tonight, again, defensively, was nowhere near good enough.
Can you afford to change it? I know you were saying about the young boys that come on for Hearts tonight, and it's good to see, but can you afford to mix up on Sunday against Midland at home? Whereas if you were away from home, you couldn't really get away with that. But if it's at home,
I think you can, but I think if you're Stephen Robertson, your players will be up for this now because they've just seen Hearts get hammered. Although that could work in the other way. They'll be thinking, actually, Hearts will be up for this now because of that result. So it could work either way. But I'd like to think that Robbie will make a few changes on Sunday. As I say, I think Snodgrass will come in. I think Craig Halkett, as far as I know, might be okay for Sunday. But again, if you're rushing back too quickly, you don't know. But we have to make a few changes in that team because for me, there's a few players that just look a bit off the pace just now. I mean, it's probably for me, I'm just trying to think what I would do on Sunday. I think I would give a couple of youngsters a chance because they're not going to learn if they don't play. So I think I might be a chance to give a few of them a run out. But again, it's just such a big game to come back to because it's a game that I'll be looking to take 3 points from. No disrespect to St Mirren, but at Tynecastle, that's a game I'm looking at 3 points. So it's a huge game, absolutely huge game now.
I think technically you can maybe get away with 1 or 2 young boys and maybe like change it in the second half or whatever. Because as I say, these European games are coming up rapidly every week now. It's not every second week. Whereas if it was every second week, then you could thinking, well, it could be a bit different. But it's every week now, so you might see a couple of like young guys coming into the Hearts team and getting used to playing in front of a full house because it will be a full house on Sunday.
I'm not sure how full it will be, to be honest, after tonight. I think a lot of Hearts fans are really disappointed, and as I keep saying, you go on Twitter and a lot of Hearts fans have lost faith in Robbie Neilson, but that's just a normal week for us. But I just think we need the Hearts crowd on side on Sunday. And again, I don't know how often I say this, but you need to start the game well. You need to start on the front foot, or else the crowd just goes flat. So I think a lot is going to be, if we can get the first goal on Saturday or Sunday, get an early goal, then the crowd will be on side. But if we lose the first goal on Sunday, I think you'll see a lot of very disappointed Hearts fans. But I personally would make a few changes to that team. I would give Connor Smith a chance. I would give Finlay Pollock a chance. I think Peter Haring needs to come out, not just tonight. I just think he looks a bit off the pace just now. And I think it's going to be... I'm trying to find comments on Robbie Neilson, but there's nothing yet. I'm trying to see what he said, but somehow there's nothing come up yet.
Yeah, no, I'm the same, but I'm finding it very difficult under the circumstances that we're in. But like, I'm even looking for Robbie's comments after the game, and I don't see it. But Haring is a decent player, but tonight wasn't his night.
I do like him. I'm a massive fan of Haring, but a lot of Hearts fans, like one of my mates always says to me that Haring's too slow. And at times I can see what he's talking about. And again, tonight, he wanted too many touches. But even when you're a youngster, the one thing you're told is you don't mess about and you edge your own box. And Peter Haring did that and loses the first goal. It's poor. And I think at times Haring does that a bit too often.
Does that go back to the old argument again, Graham, where we have this every week on the show as well, that if that was against Ross County or against Millen or against St Johnstone or whoever it is, he would get away with it. But when you're playing the big boys, and no disrespect to any of the teams I've mentioned, but I think you know where I'm going here, that he can get away with it, but he can really sometimes get away with it against the likes of County or St Mirren or St Johnstone.
No, you're spot on. Against teams like Celtic, Rangers, and teams in Europe, you cannot do that. You can't afford to do that. If you mess about in your own box, you will get punished. And you're right. If you're playing against teams like Ross County, maybe St Mirren, Motherwell and stuff, you can probably afford to take a few touches and you won't get punished, but you can't do that against better teams because they will punish you. And that happened tonight, unfortunately, not just once, but a few times. I think Stephen Craigan mentioned that Andy Halliday did the same thing. You can't take too many touches. You've got to pass it quickly. And that's something that Hearts don't do enough for me. We don't pass the ball quickly enough. And again, there was a few times tonight I noticed as well. The fans got frustrated, and I'll tell you why. Because there was a couple of times we had a throw-in, And I think Michael Smith went to take a throw in and he wanted to play it down the lane to Lawrence Shankland. But instead, he played it back to Craig Gordon. And the Hearts fans got really annoyed about that. And I can understand why. We're playing the ball back far too much. And that's a frustration for Hearts fans. And I just think Peter Haring, for me, I'm a massive fan of him. But at times, he just wants too much time on the ball. And like you rightly said, you cannot do that against teams like this.
Okay, so even though I said that there, right, I'm maybe going to take it back and say, do you think it's because of that his lack of European experience at that level?
I don't know. I just think I don't know what it is. I just think Haring does that a bit too much for me. You know, you've got to think a lot quicker. And I just don't think he does that enough. He wants too much time on the ball. And he's done it a few times for me. And that's why I can understand when my mate says he's too slow at times. But I keep going back to this. I am a massive fan of Peter Haring. But in games like tonight, and he will learn from that, and he has to. Because if he does that again next week, people will be saying, get rid of him. I'm not going to say that, but you've got to learn from that very quickly. And we've got to get back to trying to move the ball a bit quicker. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to this Latvian side because I've not seen them play yet. But you might get away with that against Latvian teams. I don't know. But against likes of Fiorentina, when we play them in a couple of weeks, again, you'll get punished for that.
Does it help as well that because they're playing Fiorentina, the first game's at home? Does that really help you because that's a back-to-back game? But does that help in the kind of way? But in saying that, you would have to take care of next week's game first because you don't want to go in that game against Fiorentina with no points.
Well, I thought home advantage might help tonight, and it made no difference. So I'm hoping it will, but I don't know. I just think if we can get 3 points on the board, and the thing is, a lot of folk as well don't seem to realise that for every win that Hearts get in this group, we get money for it. So that's another massive incentive. So if we can win 1 or 2 games, we'll get a bit more money, which would be a massive help. But I just think when the group was drawn and we got Istanbul and we got Fiorentina and we got RFS, I said that the home games would be huge. Well, we've lost the first of them tonight and we've lost it obviously quite badly. We need to have a reaction in our next home game against Fiorentina, and that's going to be a massive night because they're a very, very good side. I don't know if they're going to be as good as Istanbul were tonight. I guess we'll find out. But I keep looking at that Latvian game and thinking we need to take points from that. If we can take points off RFS, we could still be in with a chance to qualify from this group.
Yeah, no. I mean, you would say if they don't pick up anything next week, I would say that if they pick up a point away from home, you would be more disappointed because no disrespect to that way in football, and I don't know anything about that way of football, but you would think that Hearts would go over there and dominate the game and come back with all 3 points. But if you pick up a point against RFS next week, you'll be very disappointed, especially the next game against Fiorentina.
We have to be a lot better than we were tonight, that's for sure. We cannot, we can't defend as badly as that. And I would hope that we will, as I keep saying, that we will learn from that tonight and we'll be better next week. But we have to take care of St Mirren first on Sunday. That's a massive game, and then you can look forward to the game on Thursday. But I think what you said earlier, I think is right actually about the fact that we're playing pretty much every week now, and I just don't think Hearts have got the experience or the squad at the moment to do both Thursday and Sunday. I think Celtic do, and I think Rangers possibly do, but I think Hearts still just don't quite have that yet.
I know you were very happy about Robert Snodgrass, and that was a brilliant signing for Hearts as well. But are you not disappointed he wasn't signed weeks ago for Hearts? Because obviously he scores goals everywhere he goes. and not to have him even on the park for any of these kind of European games. It might show. I mean, I'm not saying that Hearts will win every game, but at least it will show a bit of fight, a bit of desire, you would say, to even work the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I think even tonight, just having somebody that could put the foot on the ball and make passes and just control the game, we missed that tonight. There was nobody really to do that. You look at that Istanbul team, they were so comfortable on the ball. They were zipping it about. They were taking one touch. They were passing it, moving it. And Hearts couldn't get near them at some points. We didn't have that tonight. We had nobody putting the foot on the ball and saying, right, I'm going to dictate this game. I had hoped that Barry Mackay might do that. But again, he was disappointing tonight. And I felt sorry for him at times because he wasn't getting a lot of service. And I just think we lacked that bit of experience in that midfield. And I think a player Robert Snodgrass would have been a massive lift. These European nights, you need that experience in there, and we just don't have that just now. I think Craig Gordon has European experience. I think Andy Hallie's got European experience. But you look through the rest of that squad, and there's very little else.
And yeah, well, you would say Lauren Shannon to a certain extent for playing for Scotland.
Yeah, but again tonight he was getting a lot of balls punted at him in the air. That's not Shanklin's game. He had nothing. He had no service at all.
It was getting very frustrated, Graham, in the first half. That I can't remember who played the ball through to him, but he never kind of caught it well at all, and he was getting very frustrated.
Yeah, and I think that's again something he's got to learn. When you're up against teams like this, you're not going to get a lot of chances. And again, he didn't really. I think his work rate was fine. I think he worked hard enough, but Lauren Shankland is a penalty box striker. He's not a player that's going to hold off 2 or 3 men, link up the play. That's not really his game. And I think that's where we miss an Ellis Sims type player. I really wanted Ellis Sims back, but we couldn't get him back. And that's what we miss. We lack that player that can get the ball up to, he can have a physical presence. And I'm not saying we should have signed him. I'd have liked him. But a Joel Nubley type of player would have been perfect tonight. And we just don't have that.
So a very poor performance from Hearts tonight. I know you said 15 minutes, but I mean, to be honest, if you ask the Hearts fans next season or even in a few months' time, they'll not remember that 15 minutes, Graham. They'll remember that they get beat 4-0 at home.
Yeah, I mean, people will, if we beat St Mirren on Sunday, tonight will get forgotten about. That's just how football fans work. They're fickle. If you win the next game, fans will forget about it very quickly. But if we go into that St Mirren game and we lose that on the back of tonight, then a bit like Rangers in the last couple of games, who've been beaten soundly by Celtic and Ajax, if Rangers were to get beat by Aberdeen, fans will start asking questions. The same thing will happen on Sunday if Hearts get beat by St Mirren. Fans will start asking questions. Or to be honest, they already are. But fans will start asking questions again.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, so obviously we'll speak about it tomorrow night because we're on the show between 5 and 7. But disappointing week for Scottish teams in Europe, especially when you get all excited now when you have like 3 teams in Europe instead of 2 teams.
Yeah, it's been a massive positive seeing 3 Scottish teams in European football. You're hearing the Champions League music at Celtic Park. You're hearing the Champions League music last night. You've got the Conference League music tonight. And then all 3 teams get hammered. But I will keep going back to this. Celtic competed extremely well against the European champions. They were very, very impressive. Losing 3-0 to Real Madrid, there's no shame in that. And Celtic had chances. Rangers, the other night, were awful. They had no fight. They had no desire. And I know we're talking about Hearts tonight, but I just want to go back to something that Giovanni Van Bronckhorst said in this press conference. They said that we can't compete. We're not good enough to compete against Ajax, Liverpool, and Napoli. If I'm a Rangers fan, I'd be raging about that comment. Yeah. If you look at what Postecoglou's basically said about his team, he's basically said that no, we're not here to sightsee. We're not here to tour. We're here to try and win games. And then you look at what Van Bronckhorst said. I'd be raging if that was me as a Rangers fan. And then tonight you're looking at Hearts, and we competed okay in spells, but no more than enough. And we lost 4 poor goals. So you've got to look at every manager's different. Obviously, Robbie hasn't come out and said anything yet. I don't know what he's taught. I don't know what he said. But you just listen to Ange Postecoglou, and he's like, no, I want to win games. I'm not going to these places to make up the numbers. And then Van Bronckhorst last night to say, oh, we can't compete against teams like that. I just think that's so poor as a manager come out and say that.
I know we're on to speak about Hearts tonight, but yeah, I mean, I just want to pick you up on that, Graham, because Dave mentioned that last night after the game. For a manager to come out and say that, and for fans to spend all the money to go all the way over there, and for the manager to come out and say that. But does that not remind you of Neil Lennon a few seasons ago when it was there, when they said that there's 3 or 4 players in that dressing room's not good enough? And as soon as a manager says that, you know that you're not going to get a performance. So it's going to be quite interesting how the Rangers team performs at the weekend against Aberdeen after Van Bronckhorst saying that comment. And to be honest, he shouldn't have made that comment. And if he was thinking that, don't come out and say it, because I know what the media's like. They'll put that as headline and all this fights and all that kind of. Don't say that. And I don't know why Van Bronckhorst is basically coming out and saying that, because he knows the Scottish game, he knows the Scottish media. So maybe he's getting a bit frustrated now, or maybe he's starting to get a bit of itchy feet, you would say.
If I'm a Rangers player and I'm hearing my manager come out and saying we're not good enough to compete at this level, I'm thinking, why am I here then? What's the point of me being here if you don't think we're good enough to compete at this level? You shouldn't go into games thinking that. You should be going around thinking, right, we might get beat, but at least we'll try and compete. And I just think that was such a poor comment. Now, maybe Van Bronckhorst has said something different to his players, but to come out in the press and say we're not good enough to compete at this level, I just think that's really poor management when you consider what the night before, what Ange Postecoglou said about, no, I want to win games at this level. It's two completely different managers saying 2 completely different things. One of them's positive, one of them's negative, and I just think that's very poor. And I think Van Bronckhorst is feeling the pressure now. I genuinely do. And I think the question was asked by a lot of Rangers fans about why did we not spend money? Why did we not sign players on deadline day? And that's a massive frustration now. And as I said earlier, if they then go to Pittodrie and get beat, that's 3 defeats on the bounce, and Van Bronckhorst starts to get under pressure. But for me to come out in the media and say we're not good enough to compete against Ajax, Liverpool and Napoli, I just think that's a poor comment to make.
I mean, if you were a Rangers fan or the manager or even a player, you would think that inside your head, but you wouldn't come out and say the comments.
No, you wouldn't. And as well, if you look at the fact that Napoli have just beaten Liverpool 4-1, if I'm a Rangers fan right now, I'm thinking, do you know what? We could actually beat Liverpool, because this Liverpool side is not playing at the same level they were last season or the last few seasons. So if I'm a Rangers fan or a Rangers player, I'm thinking, do you know what? We've got a chance against Liverpool. And I just think for your manager to come out and say publicly that we can't compete at this level, I just think that's so poor.
Yeah, no. So I mean, you were excited to see Hearts, because I know you were excited to see Hearts and McGraw, and I was excited because I made a comment a few weeks ago on Twitter. I'll admit it now, I get a lot of stick about saying, you only get to see like Celtic and Rangers in European football, and I was wrong, because Hearts, okay, they get knocked out of the Europa Cup, but you still get going to the Conference League. So I kind of ate a bit of humble pie for that. And by the way, it was nice. It was nice and hot. That humble pie had it with cold custard, but there you go. But it's all right for teams like Hearts, like Celtic and Rangers could go into Europe, and I know that we are up against getting European football, but you want them to put in a bit of a fight.
Yeah, 100%. And I just think the last two nights, I'm not going to take Celtic into that because they were just a very, very good side. But the last two nights for Hearts and Rangers have been very poor. And I do think at times tonight Hearts did put up a fight. But once that third goal goes in, the heads dropped, the energy dropped, the fans were pretty much, the game was done. And I think you could see that. But I just think when you go into these games, you've got to show that desire from the first minute. And I just think, for me, the game was kind of set in the first few minutes when Hearts sat off and let Basaksehir dominate the game. Whereas you look at a couple of weeks ago against Zurich at Tynecastle, Hearts were on the front foot. They pressed, they harried. That first half, Hearts were brilliant. We just couldn't score. Tonight, it was different. But I will go back to this again. If that Peter Haring chance goes in when it's off the line, the game could have changed at that moment. So these moments can change games. And I just think if that first goal, if Hearts get, Michael Stewart said it before the game, if Hearts get the first goal, the crowd would have been lifted and we didn't get it. And then once they score that first goal, it's a long way back because Hearts' confidence is dented. You know, we're conceding goals every week. We're not scoring enough. So once that first goal goes in, and the way it was conceded with Haring giving the ball away, the heads just dropped a little bit.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think if that chance from Peter Haring went in, or else, you know, off somebody's kind of, can I say this came on like backside, you wouldn't care. I would. You just want the fans off their seats and getting behind the team, and sadly that wasn't the case tonight for Hearts.
No, it was it was a frustrating night, I think, but I mean it's disappointing. I just wish that we could have scored that first goal, and if we had, it would have given a massive lift. But I know it's just really frustrating night. But as I keep saying, we can't dwell on that. We have to lift ourselves for the next game, because the games come thick and fast. Although I am seeing that the games are looking like they're going to be called off this weekend, so probably no surprise. But we have to lift ourselves for the next games that come up, because we can't dwell on that tonight. And again, I've still not seen any comments from Robert Nielsen so far, so I don't know what he said, or if he said anything.
No, I'm the same here. I'm waiting for his comments, but we'll keep you up to date if we've got a show on tomorrow, because of the circumstances, and obviously if the games are called off as well. But we'll keep you up to date on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. So we've got a few minutes left on the show, Glenn. How would you sum up the first week for all the Scottish teams in European football this week?
Disappointing, frustrating, annoying. But I think I keep going back to this. In Celtic's terms, they were against the European champions and they competed well.
Would you say for, sorry Glenn, I was just going to say, do you think for Celtic and Celtic fans, at the back of their mind, they knew that they were going to be up against it? So it's a phrase that we use in Scottish football quite a lot. Was it a free hit for Celtic that game?
I don't think Postecoglou would say it that way, but I think you probably would, because you're against our unbelievable side with guys like Luka Modric, Tony Kroos, Benzema, Hazard. You're up against a phenomenal side. So it maybe was a little bit. But I think Postecoglou, the thing is, Postecoglou can take a lot of positives from that game. Gio Van Bronckhorst can't take any positives from yesterday. And Robbie Nielsen has come out now. So we are disappointed, stated Nielsen, to be honest. I thought in the first half we played really well. I was pleased. I thought we were in the game and lost a really poor goal. Even at the start of the second half, we were in it, and then we lost the second goal and we went to pot. They started to show their quality because we became so open. We started chasing the game. I think it's a learning curve for us all, players, staff, and as a club, that when it goes to 2-0 up, we keep our shape, stay compact, and stay in the game. As soon as it goes to 3 or 4, it becomes a different game. And at the end, we just couldn't get close to them because the game was so open. They got confidence and they started popping the ball about. We were really, really pleased with the first half, because I think we showed we could compete against the top team because they are a top team. In the second half, we need to learn that when things go against you, you need to keep that compactness and make sure we don't fall out of the game as quickly as we did. I mean, it's a fair point, but again, you have to learn lessons quickly, because you can't fall apart after the second or third goal. But it's the way we lost the goals. 2 poor defensive goals and then 2 deflections. They're so sloppy goals to lose.
I was going to say to you, Graham, about Robbie Nelson's comments there. And you said it was quite fair, but yeah, I mean, I thought that was fair comments, especially the comment that I made about inexperience and European football. But they can build on that. You've got another 5 games to go.
Yeah, I said this at the start. These games are a bonus. You've got the league's the bread and butter. Anything you get in these European games is a bonus. But I would have liked us at home to have been a little bit more adventurous. Now, people might say you might have got cut open though, but I'd like to see us be a bit more adventurous going forward. And I keep going back to these chances, but Andy Halliday, when he's through, he's got to take the shot. Peter Haring's effort off the line. I think there was another chance in the first half where I think it might have been Forrest was through, and again, he doesn't take the shot. You've got to learn at this level, you're not going to get that much time. Take the shot on. Listen, in that wet and driving rain, if you take the shot, the ball could bounce off the goalkeeper and anything could happen.
Yeah.
So you've just got to take the shot and just think that something might happen, but we didn't do that enough tonight. Whereas Basaksehir, you look for the 2 deflected goals they had, they took a couple of shots. That's what happens, deflected goals. We didn't do that tonight.
I think you're right. I think Andy Halliday, that was a brilliant chance, Graham. And if he had hit that first time, then we could be sitting here, and Hearts could win the game, or else, pick up a point, but you've got to kick your chances.
Yes, that all does. If you don't shoot, you don't score. And I think you've got to, in these conditions, just take the shot. Anything could happen. The keeper could miss it, he could spill it, he could drop it, anything could happen. Take the shot. And we didn't do that tonight. And that's the disappointing thing for me. We didn't test the goalkeeper enough.
Yeah, because, I mean, as you say, that chance with Andy Halliday, because after that chance, Hearts kind of woke up and kind of grew into the game a wee bit. So if Halliday scored that chance, then, we, as I say, different. It would be a different game.
It would have been, and I'm sure he'll be on the radio next week talking about something else that doesn't concern Hearts, but I'm not going into that. But no, I just think, just take the shot on. Have a shot, and you never know what could happen. And I think that's the frustration that we didn't do enough to test that goalkeeper. Basaksehir they didn't have to do a lot to score those goals, and that's the frustration.
Yeah, no, they didn't have to work. They didn't have to work for the victory, Graham. I think in a typical Scottish football fashion, I get handed to them on the plate.
It is, and as you talked about lack of experience, and that did show tonight. But they've got to learn quickly because the next European game is next week. We've got to learn lessons very quickly, and I am a bit frustrated that we didn't register Robert Snodgrass before these games, because I think he could have made a huge difference with the experience.
Yeah, no, exactly. But it's I was going to say it's one of these nights, but it's a bit disappointing tonight for Hearts, and obviously this week, but for Scottish clubs. But obviously we've got another 5 games to go, so things might change in the next few weeks. We might be sitting here, and Hearts might win the game next week, and Celtic and Rangers might have picked up the points next week. And saying that, Rangers would be up against it then enough, because Napoli beat Liverpool, what was it, 4-1 last night, and that was at home. So
yeah, Napoli were excellent. Liverpool were completely outplayed, and as a Liverpool fan, that hurts to say, but Liverpool they're a shadow of the side they were last season. And as I keep on saying, if you're a Rangers fan, Rangers player, you've got to be looking at Liverpool thinking, we could possibly take something off them. Napoli, maybe not, because they looked very impressive yesterday, I've got to say.
Okay, disappointing night. Thanks, Glenn, for joining me on the locker room. We'll be back hopefully tomorrow at 5 o'clock with the weekend preview, and back on Sunday with the weekend roundup as well. And we'll be back next week with all the European actions for match day 2 of the Champions League and the Conference League. Thanks to Graham, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5.
Conference League has Scottish representation. If you want to know what's happened in the game, tune in on a Thursday for the Locker Room Special on Indie Live Radio and Independence Live. Join the guys on the Locker Room team for a blow-by-blow account of what happened during the games. Remember, the Locker Room, the best for sport in Scotland.
There you go. By the way,